Hi, Shilpa.
Hi, Vani Garu.
And
Hi,
Savita.
hi, Shilpa.
Hi.
Very nice to
Oh,
meet you
yes.
here.
Did you see my t-shirt?
Yes, I saw. I saw your post. Very beautiful. Yeah.
Yes, you
Am
are.
I
So,
audible?
shall we
Yeah.
start? Yeah, yeah, pretty
Sure,
much.
sure. Go ahead.
Shall
Go
we go
ahead.
live? I mean,
Hi,
start, Vani?
everyone.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
So, good evening, Shilpa and Vani, and to all the audience trickling in. As you all know, tomorrow is World Soil Day, and this year's topic is uh, soils where food begins. Okay. To begin with, what we need to understand is why the United Nations has been stressing the need to think of soil health on December 5th every year. The answer to this question is very simple and at the same time very disturbing. The reason is our soils are dying all over the world. Okay, and that is why the United Nations aims to raise awareness on maintaining healthy ecosystems and human well-being by addressing the challenges facing the soils today all over the world, not just in India, not just in our respective states. And most importantly, it also encourages societies to think of soil health and do whatever they can to improve its composition. So that means as we as a society, we as consumers, and more importantly, we as educated consumers have a very big role to play in tackling this challenge. I'm sure you agree with it.
Absolutely.
And second, yeah. Secondly, I would like to briefly explain, to the audience as to why the topic, the hidden hunger, was chosen for this discussion. Uh, Once again, we go back to what the United Nations is telling us, very loud and clear that over the last 70 years, so already 7 decades are passed, the level of vitamins and micronutrients in the food that we eat has decreased drastically, and it is estimated that more than 2 billion people are lacking in micronutrients, and this is a serious concern. And this is also known as hidden hunger. And even more concerning is the fact that it is very, very difficult to detect. So that means the victim could be me, it could be you, it could be anybody else for that matter. And it would be naive, very naive on our part to think that this hidden hunger concerns only the poor or the impoverished. Agree? So this is the background, and to discuss this very important and interesting topic, we have with us Shilpa Reddy. She's a model, fashion designer, fitness expert, entrepreneur, so many things. And what adds another very fascinating dimension to her already multifaceted personality is that she's a farmer and she does a show on sustainable living. And even more importantly, is something that I would love to highlight is that she loves composting, right?
Yes.
Shilpa?
Right.
And we also have with us on this panel my um, lovely colleague, my friend, my mentor, Vani Murthy, or as we all know, Rani. And we all know her love and her dedication towards sustainable living. And she has this huge repertoire of tools and techniques that she deploys every time, whenever she wants to explain how sustainably we all can live our lives, But what I find the most fascinating tool amongst them all is, of course, composting. And I don't know how many of you know, I have written this book called Endlessly Green. And in that book, I have described Vani as the composting maestra.
Wow.
Okay. She's also my colleague and the founding member of SWMRT Bangalore.
Thank
A
you. Thank
hearty
you,
welcome
Savita.
to both of you
Thank
for
you
this
for the
session.
lovely
Thank you
introduction.
so
Thank you.
much.
And let me begin with Shilpa here. Shilpa, when I was framing my questions for the session, I came across one of your, there are lots of posts, very interesting posts on your page, on your handle. And I came across one of your Instagram posts where you stress the importance of composting. And you say that only if the soil is rich will there be richness in our lives? And I found that to be a very beautiful observation. We all know no life is possible without soil. Yet soil is the most neglected and the least understood heritage, a distressed heritage, we can say. So on this World Soil Day, what thoughts cross your mind when you look at this ironic situation that is present, throughout the ecosystem all over the world?
So, Savita will start with our country. So our country always had the knowledge of soil being the source of who we are. And we always revere soil as Mother Earth. And we know it's a living ecosystem. Like as alive you and me are, that's how alive soil is. And like how we need nourishment, soil needs nourishment, and there are only two sources of nourishing the soil is animal and plant waste. This was common knowledge until 2 decades or more. But somewhere in between, we got a little excited with the salts because a farmer who would produce 1 bag of paddy, by using this magic powder, produced 4 bags of paddy, which was supposed to be used as a spare, supposed to be used sparingly, like how we use vitamins to enhance after eating the food we eat. But with that greed, we have forgotten the very source of nourishment comes from animal and plant waste. We started using pesticides and chemicals, fertilizers, thinking that they alone can give us the yield. Like it's like saying you stop eating food and just want to live on vitamins. That's exactly what we did to the soil, right? And soil is dying. And if you see, whatever happens in the soil happens to us. If the soil is dying, if the soil is degrading, we are dying, we are degrading. It's just because it's not an immediate cause and effect. We think, we can revive it, but we have to act now. And I also want to bring to your notice that every year, 27,000 species in the soil are going extinct. And this has been happening for the last few decades. And if this continues for the next 20 to 30 years, we cannot revive soil, and it might take more than 100, 130 years because most of the organisms have already died. Extinct. Extinct means never to return again. So this is the time, this is the only window we have in the next 10 to 12 years. If we act upon it, if we bring the right policies into rejuvenating soil and teaching the common knowledge that we always had in our country, that fertilizers can be used, but as to just enhance the crop, but not only as a source of growth and nutrition to the plant or the crop. So this has to be brought back. It has always been there, and I'm sure once intrinsically, if you feel that soil is alive and what changes happen in soil happens within us, I think we can bring this back very immediately. And in fact, it is easy for our country to bring it back because we had the knowledge and we've been farming for more than thousands of years. It is sad that most of the countries still feel that soil is an inert substance. It doesn't have life in it. So once you bring that common knowledge, and if the farmer is again brought back to understand that soil is a living ecosystem, we can totally turn it around, but the window is the next 10 to 15 years. So something has to drastically be done on a large scale in the next 10 to 12 years. For that, every citizen also should be, be aware of how the soil is nourished. You can't do a policy change alone, but at least you can get sensitized by composting at your home so you can see it live, what's happening and how nourishing it is to just add simple things. We don't need rocket science. We don't need invention. We need just to put organic content back in the soil and use fertilizers sparingly.
Sparing, yeah. So from your answer, I would like to look at it as, we have not more than 20 to 30 years of window. It's a very short window, and we have to act within that span of time. And secondly, greed has contributed to soil degradation to a great extent. And one of the best tools is to revive our ancient agriculture farming methods knowledge.
Absolutely.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
One, would you
So,
like to add your
it's
thoughts to this
great what
chat?
we already know, and how many of us know. See, the whole point is how many of us know that what is lies beneath our feet is a mystery, and most people don't even understand soil. So when you see what is above soil, life has exploded, but beneath the soil, life has depleted. So that natural balance, is completely missing. If in life, if we don't have that, the planet needs to be in a particular balance. It was meant to be that way. What evolved, what extinct. So there was a natural balance that was maintained, and I think that's so wrong for us to lose that because of lack of awareness. Most people don't even realize that eating food that they choose to eat, which is marketed, you get fantastic advertisements that will sell you products, that it is, they don't realize that the connection to soil. So there is a huge disconnect, that soil is a source of nutrients. I mean, when you say that hunger, hidden hunger, we know for a fact that nutrients are, most people are taking additional nutrients because there is nothing coming from the food they eat, what is sold in the supermarkets. So I think, I wonder, and really keep thinking about, when will this turnaround happen? How can more awareness be created? Why are people not looking at food as something that is going to nourish them, than look at the taste or how it's being packaged? Do they realize that processed food is creating health crisis? These are the things that keep getting into my head, and it's like, how can we as a society stop looking for instant gratification, but actually start looking at how we can slow down and look at the destruction, the climate change, and see the connection to soil. Those were my thoughts when you brought this topic up. Yeah.
Okay. So Vani, actually, just adding some more thoughts to what you just said now. See, 90% of our food comes from soil. And this is my general observation, that, not even 5% of the global population seems to be, caring about where their food comes from. You just talked about the packaging aspect of it. But it doesn't matter which economic class they belong to, we have, between you and me, we have discussed these things during our work meetings multiple times, that why is that we are never worried about the source of our food, just like we are worried about so many other things that we buy on a daily basis. So one thing, going by what you said, is yes, Shilpa brought up the greed part of it, and now Vani brought up the instant gratification part of it, right? So Shilpa, you must have seen, people are very, very particular about the, which brand of clothing or shoes or home appliances they want to buy.
Yes.
But when it comes to food, a majority of them don't even think or care about which farmer is growing their food. Have you noticed this anomaly?
Yes, of course. Also, there's not much information about it. It's one thing. And if you see, everything comes from soil, not just the food. I feel it's a lack of holistic education. People have not been sensitized as to what happens, to you when you consume unhealthy unhealthy food, or processed food. So we have been taught about good sleep is important. We've been taught about the balanced food, but no mention of soil and how it impacts our health. So this has to be brought into education also. Holistic way of education is very, very important, where the students and or the younger generation, or people who are going to school, they have to have an experiential knowledge. Only when you have an experiential knowledge will you inquire about it, because farmers are not advertising like the brands of clothing and footwear. They're all over the place. So you're being played by those ads, and you've been marketed. But farmers, where it's coming from, first of all, there's not much awareness as to where your food comes from, nor we are so busy that we don't intend to even ask where it's coming from. So I personally feel experientially people should know the value of soil and the importance of soil and how it impacts us. So holistic education is very important. Since there's no marketing as to which farm your food is coming from, people don't care until when it looks good, they think they're eating fine. But if you see, I've also recently, alarming facts is that some of the states in AP and few other regions, they have actually detected farmers are using 17% more pesticides than needed out of fear, just to retain and to kind of protect their crop, and 11% more fertilizers which are not needed. It comes for a cost. Why is the farmer doing it? Because just to protect the crop, he doesn't intend to add it, but like he's adding to save his crop. So all of this he's doing just to kind of make sure he's fine. But as educated people, we need to have an experiential feeling with soil and nature. Only then we will start inquiring. That is what I feel is more important.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it is a very deep-rooted problem, and we need to tackle it have a very multi-pronged approach to tackle it.
Yeah.
But my thought is that, when people don't care about the source of their food, the farming methods used to grow their food, then why would a farmer, even if he knew the hazards of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, even if he or she knew all about it, why would they care about what he or she puts into the soil? One thing. And why would a company like, for instance, Monsanto or any other chemical farming lobby would care about how they are poisoning the soil, right? In other words, we are directly responsible, or to a great extent, we are responsible for the health of our soils. Our soils, our serious lack of knowledge or interest or concern in safe food directly leads to soil degradation. What do you say about that, Vani? Our role in
absolutely.
That leads to
because,
soil degradation.
Again, it is the demand, and when there is a demand for a certain type of food and there's consumption of certain type of food, the more of it, the supply chain depends on that. So the more we get aware and the more we understand and start choosing food, not just for the soil health, but our own health. We should connect that. Unless we start looking at, this is one body that we need to feed good food. Otherwise, we'll just depend on doctors and medicines, and constantly you see the kind of diseases that have come up. Every lifestyle disease where convenience and lifestyle changes have brought it on to us. So I think it's so important for people to start looking at how they can feed themselves to keep healthy, rather than go to a doctor and take medicines to be healthy, because that's not the way. At least there they can make a start. For me, is somewhere they had to see the connection. When they start saying that I will eat food that is meant to be put into this body, and that's what will give me good health. And then see, when they start choosing food, they start realizing there are different kinds of food in the market, things that are convenient to pick up. You can go to a supermarket and just pick up whatever that looks attractive and whatever is trendy, whatever the ads tell you. But at the same time, you also get to see the difference between there is a real food. There's food grown by farmers who still believe in keeping their tradition alive, which is passed down by generations. It is about, not harming their soil. What is soil? It's a living thing. It's full of, life. And if once that is destroyed, there is nothing, because they are the ones that provide the kind of nutrition that plants is going to give us. And what is missing right now is organic matter. So that connection and that loop is what people need to start realizing. And that needs, as Shilpa said, education at a very early stage. There's more practical. You can't just teach something in a textbook, or people learn about the life cycle of a butterfly in the school. But the minute they see a caterpillar eating their curry leaves, they want to say it's a pest and they want to kill it. They don't even want to experience that butterfly coming out of that beautiful caterpillar becomes a pupa. So same way, we don't know what food is all about. We don't see the connection. Probably would have read about soil in geography, probably biology, a little bit of soil, but then the connection to food and nutrition is not there. you know. So that needs to be practically introduced to children. Children should be learned what is organic matter. You know, you should have patches where you grow food and they see real food growing. I think that education could become one of the biggest, I think, transformational ways how we can turn around this entire problem. Just the next gen should completely, you know, go into this and start, you know, practically experiencing the experiential learning. That could be one of the greatest ways to turn around the next gen, you know, from seeking for food which is not real.
Right.
Agree with whatever you said just now, and also I would like to add one more thing to it. You know, only when I turned completely organic, only when I started buying only organic, or I mean any other food that is that was grown holistically, permaculture, it could be regenerative farming or anything for that matter. That happened with me personally in 2015 when I said enough is enough. I'm making a switch over completely. And only then did I realize that the diversity of the food that is there, you know, for instance, many types of rice. Black rice is something I had never eaten. I was introduced to it only when I accepted, only when I embraced the whole organic farming, you know, organically farmed produce. So that is one more thing that people are seriously missing out on, don't you think? For instance, these edible weeds, like all this, you know, there are so many. I know their names. Nightshade is one of the things, and I know their names in Kannada. Komme soppu, ganike soppu, and all that, and they are so delicious. That is something people have been missing out on, because most of the people, majority of them, just go to you know, a supermarket or a store nearby, and most often they send their maid or driver or a cook to get the vegetables, whatever they need, just pick it up.
Right.
That is the, you know, usual practice especially among the educated class. So what do you say about that? I mean, let me know something on the diversity of food that we are all missing out on, from your point of view, Shilpa.
As you rightly said, I think our country has the most number of grains and millets that even I'm discovering now. And it is said that no place on the planet has ever produced the number of grains and millets that we have. And most of them can be produced with very minimal, pests and fertilizers, unlike the other vegetables that we consume on a normal basis. And I've also heard that ragi is going to be one of the most staple food in the next few years, because it requires very little water and might require very little fertilizer to yield more. So we have so much to offer the world. That's the kind of abundance we have when it comes to nutrition. And especially in South Belt, I think Tamil Nadu has been farming on the same piece of land for more than 2 to 2.5 thousands of years. So that itself shows that the intrinsic knowledge of farming that we have in our country. And you have to explore. There is wide variety of foods and simple ways of cooking without killing the nutrition. Like I see Vani Garu's videos. The way she cooks food is so fantastic, because I know the nourishment and nutrition is intact. The way she, cooks and when she adds, and obviously she buys organic, but also the variety. And I mean, most of the recipes I ask my people to also make. So once you start exploring, there is, especially in a country like ours, there is abundance of choice. Abundance.
Yes. And one more thing, this is something that has baffled me for a very long time, because I keep observing, whether it is within the communities, WhatsApp groups or anywhere else, I keep studying people's consumption patterns. I'm sorry to reveal this here on Instagram. So what baffles me all the time is that very well-heeled people, who can easily afford safe food, sustainably farmed food, it could be any method for that matter. They reject the same for two reasons. One is it is costlier, and the second one is that they think organic food is a fad, it's a hype, and little else. Please,
I get
Vani,
this
can I have some thoughts on this?
I hear this all the time. So it's like, even it baffles me, but I still kind of validate their question, or because probably I was there at one point of time, so I wouldn't invalidate that thought, because most people think that yes, it is expensive to buy something that is not commonly available, because what is available, which is mass scale grown, that is in markets, food with attractive packaging. People don't even stop to think the origin of where it comes from. And when they ask this question, my only counter will be, because I have to educate to get them to understand it. But my only counter is start pondering on the thought that why is the other food so cheap? That's all. If they look at this as something that is we can't afford, we can afford so many things. We can go on an expensive holidays. We love to buy the latest gadgets. But when it comes to putting food into this body to keep it healthy and nourished, we think twice about food that is, if 1 kg onions or 1 kg of something is 1 kg free, you would run to that to pick it up. So I wouldn't fault them, because, it's food. They don't look at it as a food that's poisoning me. So because of the awareness is lacking, I think this is what it is. And as I said, market forces regulate the farming, I guess. So if more people start, demanding for food that is safer, sustainably grown, and, grown in different methods, traditional methods of farming, then I think there will be more, it'll be more affordable for the masses. But right now, it's become kind of a niche, but if you go to a farmer who still believes, he doesn't know any other way to grow. Yeah?
An elite pursuit.
You said something? Exactly.
Yeah, it's become an elite pursuit. Some people call it an elite pursuit.
So if they
organic
have
food, eating
informed
safe
choices
food.
they make,
Yes.
How we made, at one point of time we turned around. I wish that is available to everybody, because there's always a hope that change can come into your lives. You can make lifestyle changes. You can start thinking of not just your health, but the planet's health, about the ecosystem, about how to stay connected to this beautiful, so natural part of this, what this planet is all about, and make sure that you are contributing positively to the climate change. So I think awareness, education, a point where you trigger somebody's thought process, where they start looking at, yes, this change has to come into my life and my family too.
Yeah. No, why I've been bringing out over and again about the connection between what people from higher economic classes eat, and that's one of the main reasons is that, when the rich people start eating a certain kind of food, it trickles down. The lower class, people from middle and lower income classes look up to it and look at it as the healthier way of living. For instance, broccoli was never the vegetable that was commonly used among people in my village. Okay, they saw the higher economic class people, living in this upscale apartment, eating broccoli quite often. One of the very few vegetables that exotic vegetables that we find in our local stalls. And my maid, my cook, and everybody has started eating it. Although it doesn't actually, as far as it's my personal view, it's not a very versatile vegetable very few things can be cooked with it, like maybe soup, or maybe you can add it to your sandwiches and stuff. So that is the reason, it's very important that the educated people educate themselves first about everything to do with soil health, and safe food, so that it trickles down to the people. So it's just like mobile phones or even solar panels and all that. Mobile phones used to be very costly earlier, right? When everybody started buying it, the cost went down.
Yes.
So it's always, now organic food is an elite pursuit, because very few people are eating it. Once people start demanding authentic, genuine, safe food, more farmers will come forward to grow it, and then the prices will come down.
Absolutely.
Gradually. That is the thought. Okay. And another thing is, right? And what we usually notice globally is there is this intense focus on taste and presentation of food, more than the safety aspect of it. And this is very evident in popular shows like Master Chef and on those very visually attractive shows that we get to see on Netflix, right? And this intendedly or unintendedly puts the focus back on junk food. Okay, how do you think the newer generations are going to view it, and how are they going to interpret that message, Shilpa?
So as you rightly said, this is the age of pictorial age. Everybody wants a perfect picture, whether it is a hair, makeup, or food and homes and everything. So the food has become it has to be insta worthy. And as you rightly said, all these shows have this beautiful presentation. It's almost unreal. I mean, sometimes I feel, is it an edible thing or is it like a decor? It's more of that sort. You won't believe, I'm saying this with my own experience. Once I started, natural farming, the vegetables I get from the farm, they might not look pretty. I mean, they don't look like the ones I would find in supermarket. They're crooked and they're like D-shaped, deformed. But the taste, taste, I did not know ladyfinger could taste so good until I cooked the ladyfinger that I grew in my farm. Until then, all my life, I don't even think I felt the real taste of the ladyfinger. So it is a world of difference, and also how you feel after you consume food, fresh and nutritious food, which doesn't have to look good for a period of few months. Your energy levels has a huge shift, and it is so evident if you have a sensitivity to kind of notice the changes within your body. I also felt my eyesight became a little more brighter than what it was before. From the time I started consuming, the skin has a different glow. So appearance is something people are going for, but again, superficial. What looks good may not be good. That has to be instilled in people. And that again comes from awareness, comes from understanding how food behaves within your system, not the visual appearance of it. So that is something that we all have to bring in as common knowledge. And junk is something people crave for when there is less nourishment or some imbalance in your system. Any kind of craving happens only when there are lack of nutrients or something is majorly imbalanced within your system. That strong craving to go have that KFC chicken, the strong, craving to go have that ice cream in the middle of the night. The cravings are an indication that your body is not well nourished. So junk food, if you're going for it, that means you have to immediately understand that your body is not getting all the nutrients. And I want to add this, that some scientists are beginning to prove that most of the mental illness, almost I think 40% or a little more, I can't remember the percentage, most of the mental illness issues that we are seeing in the generation of people are because of lack of nutrients, because we don't have enough nutrients that can support mental health. Hence, we see younger generation using depression as a buzzword. For everything, there's no energy, there's no focus, there is self-doubt, there is, like a foggy mind, there is no drive. All of this is because serious lacking of, nutrients that again comes from soil. So if you're craving for junk food, then that means you have serious issues in the body and something is going off balance. So I want people to start looking at it that way.
Well, you actually offered a very beautiful insight to the whole hidden hunger that we are discussing. And of course, as we have already discussed, it's very difficult to detect. Like, for instance, self-doubt, lack of focus. Why would anybody look at it as a problem that is coming out of lack of micronutrients, right? So this is true. What you said is true. And Shilpa is farming in her farm. Vani, you are farming on your terrace, all around your in your balcony, everywhere possible in your house. Okay, so right from composting to growing to harvesting to cooking, and again back to composting. How we all know how it contributes to your physical health. that is fine. But let me know a little bit about how it contributes to
You're
your
asking me that
spiritual
question.
well-being.
I'm not much of a spiritual guy.
Yes.
Anyway, I think the connectedness is the spirituality that I experience. That a better connection to this beautiful planet. You know, staying at home on the third floor, I feel connected to the ground. I feel connected to the soil, and I see I evolve myself. I'm evolving to be a better person with more. You know, in every way, I feel there is a huge shift, and it is but nothing but spiritual. See, you know, that comes into you. You open up for so many things that you can absorb, because when you close yourself, when you pull the shutters down, and you don't even see many things. So I think that's the only spiritual connection that I see, because I really don't understand spirituality. I have you know, a kind of I always believe I'm not a very spiritual person, but I think it's coming. That feeling and that energy is what I sense right now, and it's great because I sustain that loop. You know, I try to better myself every time. So I think I am on that path, maybe very slowly but steadily. This is spirituality for me. But for the previous question that you asked her, I have a different take on it. If in, you know, social media, television, there's so much of visual impact for everybody, which influences them. And if these cookery shows influence people to cook at home, I'll be very happy. You know, how they present, but you know, young children want to start cooking at home, which is completely lacking nowadays. People are not wanting to cook. If you see the Western world, they're not cooking. Yeah. They spend 5-10 minutes in the kitchen. You know, they're not cutting fresh vegetables. They're not doing anything fresh. So if these shows actually encourage you to cook, I think that's great. What I'll be worried is, if you're watching a cricket match, there are advertisements every few minutes telling you to buy this product, you know, this processed food, that drink, which is so full of sugar. I mean, that's something that I would worry more than about, you know, something that will encourage you to start cooking because you want to present it that way. Maybe you want to cook your traditional food and present it to your family, you know, make it appetizing for them. Maybe my son wouldn't eat certain things, but if I can nicely, you know, put it in such a way on the plate, it could be more appealing. So yeah, I just wanted to give you that one more take on that, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, there are always many versions, many takes to one particular trend or issue. Yeah, it can influence us both ways. It can be positive as well as negative. And when it comes to the negative aspects of not just the social media or anything, but the policy making, let's move on to the policy making side. Shilpa, you are a farmer, and you would know how difficult it is to get certification for whether it is natural farming, naturally farmed product produced, or organically farmed one. And what I mean is there are more laws, in fact, very stringent ones, you know, for those who take the poison out of our plates, but there are very few or almost none for those chemical farming lobbies who pour the poison back into our plates. You know, what do you have to say about that? And what has been your experience as a farmer?
I feel it should be the absolute other way around. In fact, strict laws should be on people who are using fertilizers and pesticides without following any regulations or norms.
Yes.
And I think every produce from the farm has to be tested before it even goes out to the market. That is something very, very important. When the same stringent laws can be applied to farmers who are farming organic, the same set of stringent laws should also be there for farmers who are also using excessive fertilizers and pesticides. Like we just spoke about how, you know, 17% more sprays are being used out of panic, out of fear. Farmers just want to retain the crop and, you know, not lose the crop. So they are doing it just to save it. But if there are stringent laws, they will also step back, because farmer, he doesn't want to use more because it costs him, like I earlier mentioned. It is not as, you know, fancy to use more fertilizer. He's only doing it to save the crop. If he's rightly educated, and, you know, like if you don't fail our farmers, if you rightly educate and avoid these lobbyists to deploy fear in a farmer, to push them to use sprays when they're absolutely not necessary, that also should be done, because poor farmer doesn't know, like he's just overdoing it because he thinks the more he does it, the more yield or he can protect the existing crop. It has to come from the authorities. It has to come from the authorities, and we have to monitor how these pesticide and fertilizer lobbies are deploying fear in the farmer. So the control has to start from there. Policy changes have to be in place, and stringent laws has to come for normal farming more so than the organic farming. And it'll also discourage a lot of farmers who want to get into natural farming because of the tedious process of and paperwork and laws they have to comply with.
So yeah, it has to be for both, because we don't want to end up in a situation wherein we have these fake organic farmers who are like, due to lack of stringent laws, and we will enter another problematic area. So we don't want that to happen. There should be regulations for both.
Yeah, hence I said every produce from a farm has to have certain, like how we have lab tests that we have to produce when you're producing a nutrition product or a skincare product. We have to have all these lab tests in place and have to be presented before the product goes out in the market. So the same has to be applied for the farm produce as well.
Okay. So Vani, globally, 33% of the soils have lost their vitality. In other words, 1/3 of the soils are incapable of supporting life. It is a very sad issue, and it's a huge global issue. But still, it all boils down to one thing. What can we do at a personal, at a family, at a community level? And as an Instagram influencer, and the one who always, talks about safe food, sustainable living, what message do you have
as an individual?
on this world?
Compost, return, because you can't get anything, if you don't give. So give, then you get. That's the formula in life. So I think we need to protect in every way we can, because if everybody starts like a revolution, then we can return organic matter, and then we can rebuild and replenish, and then re-establish the ecosystem that needs in the soil, and we reload our nutrition. So, in every way, if we could get this, understanding, and of course, I will continue as a person who's compelled to talk about this constantly, whatever I can do in my capacity, because when you practically experience it, you just want to share, and that's what people need to do. Keep sharing your experience. Absolutely. Because we can't teach people anything. It is only we want them to experience. Like example, composting. I can't teach composting to anybody. They have to experience to understand it. So you can't teach farming to anybody. You can't tell people, do this, do that. They have to experience. So I think we as influencers, I mean, Shilpa is an amazing influencer to influencers. The kind of people who she can reach out to is like much more needed, because they are already influencers and she influences them. So we need to, I think, collectively get this out by sharing everything that we do, so that there's somebody who will start thinking about it, and probably would definitely start exploring more, and we'll see the shift. That is at an individual level, very slow process, but at different levels, different things can happen. You can create magic, to restore this microorganisms in the soil. We all get together, what SWMRT is doing constantly, what we do at Swachhagraha, Kalika Kendra. It is all about creating that awareness, pushing it out relentlessly, but catching somebody or the other who is absolutely unaware of it. So constant DMs and constant feedback that I get is that people are just waiting to hear about it. They're waiting to make those changes because they don't know anything otherwise. Our lifestyle is such that we are so engrossed in, all kinds of issues that we have. Today it's not easy. It used to be very easy. The living few decades back, it was not that difficult. But today, the fast-paced life, everything is like, you have to catch up with people. How you look, how you behave. Everything is what will people think, what will they judge me. So your mental health, like how Shilpa said, everything is under so much stress. When we are under such tremendous stress, we need to give an outlet for people to get into a path where they feel whole again, because that's what you need to be. When you are whole again, you will contribute, you will make a difference to this beautiful world, to yourself and to everybody around. So as people around, yeah, go ahead.
Shilpa, how often do you get it?
How often? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. How often do you get a chance to discuss this type of topics, being an influencer within your family and at a larger scale?
I think.
And how is it received by your audience?
They have no choice, because all I speak, and I usually live my lifestyle as an example. I live life as an example. So instead of preaching too much, I just want people to notice how I'm living and how joyful I am. So that's one thing. I don't believe in forcing anybody to do anything. Like how Vani Garu rightly said, you cannot push this onto someone, because this is something very experiential. Like I also feel most of the people are lacking that connect from nature, because they think nature is out there and you're in here. We somehow lost the connect to understand that we are nature, and nature is a part of us. What happens in nature will impact us.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
So that is completely, because we are the only species on the planet that live out of nature. So to reconnect, composting, growing your own food, or even growing and caring for a plant will make you whole. It will immediately make you understand experientially that we are a part of it, and there's a constant transaction that's happening between you and everything around, whether it's the space or the air we breathe, the land we walk on. Everything is having a constant transaction with us. That is missing. So to bring that back, growing plants, growing and caring for a plant does wonders. That is on a personal level. Once the person is sensitized in this way on a daily basis, when we have to speak up on a larger scale, like we're all democratic nations. Most of the world is democratic nations now. If you want our authorities to act and divert their focus to conserve soil, you have to experience it yourself, how important it is. So sensitization happens on a daily basis by engaging with nature and soil. And when you have to speak up collectively for policy change, you will do it without hesitation, without doubt, because you know experientially what it is to be a part of nature and how it impacts us. So on World Soil Day, I want everyone to do one thing that is very simple. So Conscious Planet is, spearheading Save Soil movement, which garnered 3.9 billion people to speak about soil in the last 2 months back, when Sadhguru from Isha Foundation rode on his motorbike over more than from London to Kaveri. Now it's the time to act. So how can we act as people? So there is a simple link I would want you to, and I request you to put it up on your stories. So it is so simple that it is almost like filling in your address when you buy something online. So they have made a format where you put in your email ID and your name and your number and write a small letter saying that we want our authorities to focus their energies to protect and conserve soil for the future generations. And that letter is directly going to the agricultural minister. They have made it so simple. So I want everybody whom you know, friends, family, colleagues, followers, to be, to share this link. So they just go and lend their voice, and let the authorities know that we want them to start focusing on this issue, because only if we all collectively speak will change happen in a democratic nation. And it is an utmost responsibility, because Vani Garu planting 5 trees will not help. This is not the solution. The solution only is when we speak up on a larger scale.
Yes, yeah, that's correct, because we need India-wide policy making, we need a policy framework to make sure that whatever we have discussed now, and of course there are many more nuances to it, there are a lot more subtleties to what we have just discussed, so to be able to implement it on a much, much larger scale. I totally agree with it, and it's been nearly 47 minutes since we started this conversation. I think it's now time to throw open this forum to anyone among the audience. If they have any questions, please let us know.
I don't know. In fact, I'm not able to scroll down.
Can you see any questions there?
No, I don't see any questions. I don't think so. There are
any questions. Okay.
Yeah, your final thoughts, Savita.
No. Okay, all right, no problem.
Okay.
No, I still have one more question to go because we don't seem to be having it. So one thing is, I mean, we get to hear a lot about soil-less gardening, soil-less farming these days. There is hydroponics that has come up. I'm not interested in this sort of criticizing any type of farming. Okay, it's very good that people are at least talking about some form of farming other than using the same typical chemical farming using pesticides and chemical fertilizers. Of course, even soil-less gardening also uses chemical fertilizers. But the thing is, what I have not been able to understand is, it is the plants need for their immunity, for their robust growth. They need, some 18 naturally occurring chemicals, and 15 of them are available only through the soil. So when this is the case, and these are natural chemicals, of course, when this is the case, how do you interpret this whole, attention that is being poured on soil-less gardening or hydroponics and stuff like that? Because yes, there are people who defend it, but since it's World Soil Day, when we are discussing so much about soil, I would like to know both of your views.
Go ahead, Shilpa.
Vani, yeah, I'll go ahead. So, as you rightly said, this is not to criticize, but I also got into hydroponics, getting very excited because the only idea I had in my mind was they're not sprayed with too many, fertilizers. Because I was only doing salads, because I know leafy vegetables absorb a lot more, like pesticides and fertilizers than other vegetables. So I used to eat a lot of salads. So I started my hydroponics, but it was just fiber. There's absolutely no nutrition. And I've gotten a little more into it. Like I tried to kind of research, because we all make mistakes and we learn from our mistakes. This is again not criticizing. These things can work in places like Saudi Arabia, where there's a lot of deserts, and this is a great invention like hydroponics or other ways of farming. But fixing soil is very simple. We don't need technology. We do not need rocket science. We do not need any heavy investment. It is just putting back organic content instead of trying to think how else can we do different kind of agriculture not using soil. If the same energies are focused in reviving soil, I think it is the best. I understand in certain reasons this is needed because of the demand of the population and the geographical positioning of that particular country. These are great, hydroponics and other ways of vertical farmings, and those are great. But then I personally feel majority of our farming is soil farming, so the focus should be reviving, but not to really waste energies into inventing something, inventing the wheel all over again. And it doesn't require too much technology or investment, so it is simpler to do and go back to reviving soil.
I think I completely agree with her.
Yes, Vani,
because I haven't I have had opportunities to try it, but I am a person who loves building soil. So I never even tried it. But I know people who have done, they grow amazing food with that. One of our terrace gardener group, there is one guy who does. So it's so beautiful to see how he grows. And I had no clue about that it lacks a lot of nutrition, because I thought they supply all the nutrition liquid, through the water. So I had no clue about it. So yeah, for me, it is soil, build soil, put organic matter back, grow
And
food
soil.
in a living soil. Make sure that you encourage life in soil. I mean, I would dedicate my life to that. So yeah.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to both of you for agreeing to be on this, Instagram live talk. And Shilpa, especially, I found a lot of insightful observations in your answers, in your talk, and thank you so much for sparing almost 1 hour, on Instagram for
On a Sunday, yes.
SWMRT.
On a
And
Sunday.
And
Vani,
she's a
I
very
don't need
busy
to take
woman. And she's a
On a
very
Sunday.
busy lady. So
on a Sunday. Yes,
no,
yeah.
no, I
I
know
was
how
just
busy you
making a
are.
joke, please. And
Yeah.
Savita, do you promise to share the link on your story,
Yeah.
so people can be a
Yeah,
part
I'll
of
do that.
policy making?
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
I hope, yes, we'll certainly do that. And thank you, Vani, for once again, being, a force to reckon with, and for all your guidance before this talk, because this happens to be my first uh, session as a host. I have sort of not really taken to Instagram much, because my medium is writing. It has never been a visual medium. And I find it very, very taxing sometimes to produce visual content. So thank you very much to both of you. And I really, really hope that you found this, conversation worth your while.
Absolutely.
And
you did an amazing job.
I really hope to catch up with you.
You said it was first, but I don't see any stress around. But you framed your questions marvelously.
Exactly.
Made it so comfortable for us to answer them. Thank you so much for hosting. Yes.
And very meaningful. Like, there's a lot of depth in how you put the questions across.
Yeah.
Very thoughtful.
And must tell
Thank you,
that
Savita.
Thank you,
Savita's
Shilpa. Thank you very much.
knowledge in soil is far more than what she says. She's amazing that way. Her book, Endlessly Green, it is a book that we have to keep on our bedside and keep reading. So I think we get more information about,
Oh, I will pick my copy. Thank you.
Don't worry, I'll send you a copy.
Bye.
Please
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Savita.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.